Frank Feneck is the retired groundskeeper of Tiger Stadium and a man who would keep the grass as deep as Sparky Anderson would want it. In all those years of trying to make the ballpark look good, what was the hardest part of doing all of that?
I think our hardest time was when we had the Lions and the Tigers. I think that was the worst time, because after the season ended with the Lions, we would go right into taking out the sod, which was ever left. So we had to we took out the whole field and made a brand new field every spring for the Tigers when they'd come in. And you're talking about laying sod in late February and almost all of March. And usually in them days, our opening day was April the 6th, as you remember. I remember one year, Joe, the weather was so bad, we laid sod the morning of opening day, and Kaline, the star and the man that he was, never complained once. I'd see him cutting for the right field foul line, and he'd take 2 or 3 pieces of sod with him because it was just laying there. And what we used to try to do, we would try to staple it down. They have sod staples that we would try to put it down so it would remain stable. But that one year we had such a hard time. We were lucky we had any kind of grass at all for opening day.
Did any of the players over the years, Frank, and all your years down there, did they come to you and say, can you do this for me and do that for me, but whether it's the pitching mound, the grass, the outfield, the batter's box? Who asked you some special stuff?
Well, the funniest one was Gibby when he first come up. I remember they were playing him in the outfield, and he wasn't very good with the glove, and he didn't have too good of an arm, and one day he asked me if it would be possible to let the grass grow long enough so that when the ball came out to him, he would stop, and all he had to do was run and pick it up and throw it into the infield.
What about that business of the I don't know who it was, Boggs or whoever it was, Wade Boggs, coming into Detroit and say, hey, home plate is tilted towards right field, and it really is, and you'd say, no, it wasn't, but what's the story there?
McNamara was managing the Red Sox, and he asked if they could use the field the day before the opener. I hate to do that, but for them I did, because I used to like John, and I used to like the Red Sox, so we let them use it, and I heard a lot of yelling and screaming, and the day they were working out, and one of the guys that works on the field for me came over and he said, they're raising hell with us about third base. So I went out on the field, and Mac was there with Boggs, and Mac wanted to know why third base was resting on the foul line, and I couldn't understand what he was getting at. I said, what do you mean, why is the base resting on the foul line? He said the bag should be inside the foul line. And I asked him, I said, boy, I sure wonder how the hell you got to become a manager. And Boggs was really the one that straightened him out, because he didn't believe me that the bag actually lays on the foul line. Wade was sticking up for Mac, and he said, well, he says, you don't have to be so cocky. He says, your home plate is cockeyed. And I said, now where are you coming up with this? I says, we have that checked every year. He says, well, you're off about the width of my thumb. And I remember Mary Schroeder, the photographer for the Free Press, was following us around, and Wade walked me up to the home plate area, and he stuck his thumb down there, and he said, that's exactly how far off you are. And I started laughing, and I had Wade standing in the box, and I said, now look down the foul line and see if the foul line curves to you. I said, because the one on the wall in the outfield is made of steel, and that isn't going to bend. If we're crooked, we're going to have to end up there. I said, do you see a curve in our foul line going from home plate to the outfield? And he agreed with me, and finally he said, well, maybe it is an optical illusion. But that got around, and every time the teams would come in, they would always check and see if it was cockeyed. I even think Gibby thought it was cockeyed.
You've spent more time in Tiger Stadium than anybody I know. I can't think of another person in the last 40 years or so who spent more time in that ballpark than you, because you're there in the summer, the winter, the autumn, the whole thing, the springtime. As you went around the field, you find any crazy stuff in the outfield grass or anything like that?
Well, the funniest thing, I would say, Charlie Silvera's teeth.
His teeth?
His teeth. Yeah.
His teeth.
Yeah, Charlie Silver evidently was having problem with his uppers, and he wrapped him up and he put him in his pocket during practice, and he's running around out there shagging balls, and I guess he didn't miss his teeth till the next morning because he come running across the field about 6 in the morning. Usually on a day game we get there kind of early. We get there by 7, and by 7:30 we're starting the mowers up and getting the grass cut for that afternoon game. And he come running across the field yelling, "Don't cut the grass, don't cut the grass." And I met him halfway. I said, "What's the matter, Charlie?" He says, "You know, I lost my teeth." And he told me how much he had spent on them. So we had all the boys out there on their hands and knees looking, and we finally found them out in right field somewhere.